Alright, let's dive into this story. A Palestinian student, Dana Abu Qamar, won a human rights appeal after her student visa was cancelled by the UK's Home Office due to comments she made about the Israel-Gaza conflict. Abu Qamar, who is 20, originally had her visa revoked in December 2023 after a tribunal ruled that the Home Office couldn't justify that her presence in the UK wasn't in the public good. Okay, so to explain that more clearly, what this means is that the authorities couldn't legally back up their claim that Abu Qamar's statements were a threat to public order or safety. So, here's what happened. Abu Qamar came under government scrutiny after she made statements at a university demonstration about Gaza's history of resisting what she described as Israel's oppressive regime. These statements were then amplified in an interview with Sky News. She's a dual Jordanian-Canadian citizen of Palestinian descent, and what she expressed was a mix of fear and pride. She said that Gaza had been under a blockade for 16 years and described it as a once-in-a-lifetime experience. To see Gaza actively resisting rather than being on the defensive. During the interview, she also voiced a complicated mix of emotions. She mentioned fear over potential Israeli retaliation and the violence that could follow, but she also shared a sense of pride over the resistance she was seeing from Gaza. This kind of public stance put her under significant scrutiny. Abu Qamar led the Friends of Palestine Society at the University of Manchester, so she's been quite involved in activism and advocacy around Palestinian issues. The Home Office, however, interpreted her statements as potentially supporting violence. Right, Abu Qamar has been very clear that she wasn't advocating for violence against civilians, nor did she support Hamas, a group designated as a terrorist organization by the UK. She's emphasized that she was speaking specifically about Palestinian resistance to occupation and has openly condemned violence against civilians. Now, the tribunal, which heard her case, found the Home Office's reaction to be disproportionate and an overreach on her freedom of speech rights under the European Convention on Human Rights. The ruling stated that nothing she said should be taken as support for Hamas or any specific attacks on civilians, especially those on October 7th. In fact, the tribunal said that her words using phrases like actively resisting and broke free would likely be understood by informed listeners as referring to lawful resistance rather than incitement to violence. The court made a clear distinction between support for the Palestinian cause and any endorsement of violence. Here's where it gets interesting. According to the judgment, calling Israel an apartheid state was also a point of contention, but the tribunal noted that this view is actually consistent with assessments made by some human rights organizations. Basically, the court acknowledged that her opinions were not extreme or unusual within the broader discourse on this issue. The tribunal's decision wasn't just about Abu Qamar as an individual, though. It seemed to set a precedent, at least in her view, about freedom of speech regarding controversial international issues. Abu Qamar described it as a validation of the right to speak up for human rights and the rights of Palestinians, even under occupation. For her, it was a critical win, not just personally but as an activist as well. In her statements, Abu Qamar reiterated that she does not and has never condoned harm to innocent civilians. She stressed that such views go against her personal character and values, and she appreciated the tribunal for recognizing that. On a personal note, her connection to the conflict is deep. She's lost 22 relatives in Gaza amid the ongoing conflict, and her grandparents were displaced by the 1948 Nakba. Her extended family in Gaza remains trapped in dire conditions, which she described as hell on earth. One of the most surprising elements in this case was the involvement of Robert Jenrick, the former UK immigration minister. Jenrick had reportedly inquired about the possibility of revoking her visa, and for Abu Qamar, this felt like a deeply political maneuver, showcasing a broader trend within the UK government to politicize immigration and security policies. She saw it as a warning signal to activists, showing the government's willingness to take drastic steps against those who speak out on controversial issues. When she learned about this political interference, she was understandably shocked. According to her, it felt like the government was sending a strong, almost intimidating message to activists essentially, that speaking out on certain topics could cost them everything. And when the Home Office ultimately acted on this, cancelling her visa, she described feeling as though her world was collapsing all at once, like everything she'd worked for could be stripped away in an instant. Now, as for the Home Office, they kept their response pretty minimal, stating only that they don't routinely comment on individual cases. This has been a long-standing policy for them, especially on sensitive matters like immigration status and national security, So, for now, they haven't given any additional insight into why Abu Qamar's case was initially viewed as a threat to public good. In conclusion, Abu Qamar's case has sparked a lot of debate about freedom of speech, activism, and the line between personal political beliefs and government security concerns. Her case not only highlights the difficulties faced by those in the Palestinian diaspora who speak openly about their beliefs, but it also raises questions about how governments like the UK handle political expression and human rights advocacy. Her victory in this appeal is seen as an affirmation, at least in this case, of the right to discuss such issues without fear of extreme repercussions like losing a visa or facing deportation. So yeah, it's a complex and multifaceted story that has implications beyond just one person. It taps into broader conversations on human rights, freedom of speech, and the impact of political advocacy.
Thanks for watching our video. Please hit the bell icon and subscribe the channel. Thank you.